All right, so gay marriage back in the news. Didn't think we were really going to be spending this week talking about the British monarchy and same-sex marriage. Going to quote from Politico quickly, quote, Chuck Schumer said that the Senate would vote on legislation to protect same-sex marriage in the coming weeks, forcing Republicans to take a stance ahead of the midterm elections. About this effort, Senators Susan Collins and Tammy Baldwin, that's a Republican and a Democrat for those of you keeping track at home, Collins and Baldwin are currently working on an amendment that seeks to clarify that the bill wouldn't affect religious liberty or conscience protections in an effort to gain more Republican support. This is over Polymarket, right?
Yeah, you can bet on this on Polymarket. There's a line on whether or not will gay marriage pass the U.S. Senate. The yes is trading at 62%. And then I guess they're actually, so that's the most direct way to bet on this. But then there are related lines also, one of which is, will the Supreme Court case, is it Obergefell? I guess.
Yeah, Obergefell or Obergefell.
Obergefell,
I don't really know how to say it.
Yeah, there's a line on that one on Insight prediction on whether or not that will be Obergefell v. Hodges, will it be overturned by 2024? The no there is trading at 86%. And then I have a third kind of way that I'm betting on this, but we can.
Are you going full degen here?
Well, so what struck me about this is, I don't know if you saw, but Ted Cruz came out and said he's going to basically vote against the bill. He kind of got out in front of the issue.
What a surprise. Ted Cruz is going to vote against a Democratic bill?
Well, so what I found notable about that was that he sort of how quickly and in a high profile way he came out. Like a lot of Republicans, even who are going to vote no on this, I think are going to be kind of quiet about it.
Right.
Now, maybe I'm overreading it, but I think that I take that as a sign that he's trying to carve out a niche in the 2024 election. I think he wants to run. So I think
you think Ted Cruz wants to run for president? Like what? Tell me something I don't already know, buddy.
Well, you may know, but the markets may or may not. I mean, right now he's trading at 2% to be the Republican nominee. Now, I mean, maybe that's a indication that the markets are skeptical of him winning. But I mean, if you even think he's going to run, his past record alone, I think suggests that 2% is the buy on him there. So, that's what I would say about that.
For those of you who have like a mental disease, I think you can also factor this into the Kamala Harris. No, I don't think you can. I'll shut up. Maybe I can just say what I think is going on. Do you think that's?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that the term that you keep hearing from Republicans is, quote, religious liberty, which, I mean, that's kind of a vacuous term, right? Like, isn't that just one of those terms you just hear people kicking around in politics a lot and they sort of make it mean what they want it to mean? Does that sound right to you?
Well, I mean, there are certainly legitimate issues around religious liberty, but I also think that it serves a convenient function for conservatives right now, which is basically it kind of allows them a semi-respectable way or an easier way of opposing or standing for things that they're a bit shy about doing.
Right. So I think you're spot on. So there's like a few issues here, and one of them is that I think Republicans are just really tired of Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer getting good press. So passing a bill that realistically has almost no actual policy effect, but will be, heralded as a great achievement for mankind is just not something they want to do right now. But like if you watch their interviews, you can tell that they're just whatever, that they just don't want to talk about it because it sucks for them either way. Anyway, so the issue here, Republicans keep saying religious liberty as at stake. And to that, Susan Collins and Tammy Baldwin recently penned an op-ed in the Washington Post where they were talking about how they're going to add an amendment to the House-passed bill that protects religious liberty. And again, no one's like explicitly spelling out these phrases, but my sense is that if they can convince Republicans that they're not creating a situation where like same-sex couple X is not refused a marriage ceremony in church. Why? Like that they can't sue the church, or the state can't compel the random Baptist or evangelical church to marry a gay couple, that it will actually be quite easy for Chuck Schumer to get to 60 votes and make this thing go through. But if there's not an agreement on some sort of amendment or rider like that, I think it'll be actually maybe impossible to get to 60 votes. It's just like that is the out that Republicans are looking for, and they'll take it if it's allowed to them.
I have no opinion on the legislative side of it. I would say on congressional markets, follow dawg. But I will say on the politics of it, I mean, my gut here is telling me that whatever conventional wisdom begins to emerge in the media narrative, it may not exactly get the politics of this right. And what I mean by that is, even if you assume that the decision or like that there's a consensus on whether or not there should be gay marriage in the country, and I'm not even sure about that, I think part of the challenge that the Democrats have here, which they may not even be thinking about fully, is that so much of the conversation today is the gay marriage bill may end up being a culture war proxy for other things that are going on, where Republicans do have a stronger hand. So you've seen that, for example, in like the Glenn Youngkin election victory, or in a lot of the fights over school boards and things like that, where you see just culture wars over kind of what should be taught in school or not. I mean, Ron DeSantis has certainly been on top of that.
Like everything is like being scored against the war on everything else, So like if this is just another touchdown in the war on everything else, then it's a sour issue for Senate cooperation. Is that it?
Yeah. So I think like what you have to be thinking about here is, who is the Republican senator who, does not have a strong view on gay marriage, or may even be mildly in favor of it, but they also know that their constituents are like seeing TikTok videos or Twitter or all day where they're seeing like excesses in their school boards, and they know that parents are fired up over like trans people lecturing at their local library.
Drag queens at the 7th grade dance, and whatever that is.
Yeah. So does that become a factor in this bill? My gut is probably yes. So I would simply say like maybe factor that into how you bet on it.
Okay. So dawg is going to do his little show and tell here. Here is my telling detail that you might think is pointless, but I think is telling. I think Chuck Schumer, the way he's doing this, first of all, shout out Chuck Schumer. We have been calling him Cuck Schumer for a year, because he's just like, basically he's had a worse rookie season than like the worst, like Matt Leinart or Vince Young as much heralded rookie NFL quarterbacks. Like it's just been bad, but he's finally figured out the game. He's been crushing it the last month or two. Like, Chuck Schumer, the learning curve's a bitch. Congratulations. You figured out how to do your job. Okay. Shout out Chuck Schumer. But he seems like, from a procedural standpoint, that he's kind of like, I think, setting the Republicans up for success in a way. And that to me means that he's playing for the win. He's not playing for like the political dunk that can be an attack at. Now, if the Republicans don't, follow the primrose path, that they might wind up in that spot once again. But I think like a lot of people said it was super aggressive, way too aggressive of Chuck Schumer to say that he was going to attach this gay marriage bill to the CR. I think I am in the minority of people that was him basically saying like he wants to give Republicans an out. He just wants to get this through, and he knows that it's unlikely that the government's going to shut down before an election over a same-sex marriage, whatever. Now I think.
Wait, let me stop you there. You said a lot of inside stuff that I think people aren't going to follow. So first of all, what is a CR, and then talk about why there's another prospect of a shutdown.
Okay. Oh, good point. Okay. CR is one of those terms that no one knew 5 years ago. And like the federal budget process has gotten so haywire that I feel like it's starting to be a known term. CR stands for continuing resolution. The government usually historically in a distant era used to fund itself with 12 separate appropriations bills that actually spent money on random shit throughout the country. It never happens anymore. So everything gets bottled up into $1 trillion 1,000-page long continuing resolution that just allocates funds based on historic funding. And then these things turn into, what do they call it? Like pin the tail on the donkey or Christmas trees, where they just hang every last second priority on them at once. And then Congress just spends a week voting on shit. And like, that's kind of it. So that is the premise of a CR. Did I make that more complicated?
No, that was clear.
Okay. What's the second question? Government shutdown?
So yeah, why is there?
By the way, we can bet on this on Kalshi, right?
Yeah. I'll bring up the line, but why don't you just talk about why even there's another possibility of a shutdown and how that's related to the gay marriage bill, which I think is where you were going.
Right. Yeah. Well, because the budgetary process has become politicized. Politicized might not even be the right word, because these budget bills are some of the only legislative products that are truly must pass. Like, they have to get through Congress. The game of juggling what gets attached to them from like a policy perspective, or from, funding, which, let's face it, money really dictates policy, creates these frequent situations where it's like the threat of shutting down the government becomes a negotiation about what goes into the bill that averts the shutdown. Like, it's like, nice federal government you got there, would hate to see something happen to it. By the way, insert my, pet project or my favorite bill, or else I'll throw a rock at the White House windows or something. So that's maybe it.
Okay, yeah. So, and you can bet on this on Kalshi. So will there be a government shutdown by October 1st? It's no is trading at 92%. It's basically like a 91.9 market. The bettors are saying that there will not be a shutdown. But so let me try to, as kind of a lay person here, let me try to summarize, I think, what you said. So basically, like, members of Congress kind of don't really want to directly legislate on anything, and so a lot of the debates in Congress basically come down to appropriations, like how much money is going to be spent. And so because there needs to be initiative in Congress to basically fund the government, which is the CR, in the context of that, Schumer and congressional leaders try to tack on substantive legislative priorities as part of the appropriations process. Did I get that?
Correct. Okay. Like, it's basically like, it used to be that there were daily, hourly, and like weekly trains running from Congress to the White House, and they contained bills the president would sign. That is not the case anymore. Now there's like monthly and quarterly, and sometimes maybe biannually. Like, there just aren't that many bills that are going to get through the legislative process. So anytime there's one that is guaranteed, like a continuing resolution or the defense authorization or, an infrastructure bill, it turns into like all out war to get as many other pieces of policy tacked onto it as possible, because it might be a couple months or a year before you get another bill that's going to go all the way up to the White House. So it's its own parlor game to get yours into it.
Right. And so you're making the argument that basically Schumer is using he wants to avoid a government shutdown, but he doesn't want to pass a clean spending bill to keep the government open. The gamble of sorts he's making is he wants to tack on gay marriage as part of this. And basically he's calculating, I guess, one of two things: either that this is something that will put Republicans on the defensive, or even if the politics don't totally work out cleanly for the Democrats, he views this as a mandate the Democrats have, and they want to get this on the books as a legislative victory.
So I'm thoroughly in camp 3 there. So I think a lot of people read Chuck Schumer saying he was going to tack a cultural issue, gay marriage, onto the CR, and they said, whoa, bro, that is aggressive. I read that the complete opposite way, as him just being like, we need to figure out how to get this through. This is one way to do it. Now, the instant that story broke, you started hearing the Republicans who nominally are in his camp of pro-marriage equality start to say, we're not doing it that way. This is a standalone vote. And lo and behold, the story has completely disappeared. No one is talking about tacking a gay marriage equality thing onto a CR anymore. The game ball is now very much in Tammy Baldwin and Susan Collins' hands to find 10 Republican votes to do this as a standalone measure. So to me, that says that Chuck Schumer is really looking for a strategy to get this passed. He is not looking for a way to just make Republicans look stupid. He wants to see this happen. And that's, I think, a different game.
So, and what is the argument for and against doing it as a standalone?
I think the argument for doing it as a standalone faces two directions. One, I think it's a clearer mandate to sort of put the issue to rest, is to have Congress vote on it directly. Like, don't let it just be an asterisk. And I think there's some Democrats who are sort of saying that in their own way. But I think the other one is that Republicans just immediately scoffed at having to swallow it in a CR. And I think it was just immediately obvious that there were not 60 Republican votes if gay marriage was going to be litigated in the continuing resolution. So I think that's the biggie there.
Got it. Well, look, what I find interesting about this is, so the market price I quoted here on Insight Prediction, Obergefell v. Hodges. I mean, presumably or ostensibly, the reason why Congress is even considering this bill is kind of, I mean, you focused on one rationale, which is to just legitimate gay marriage, but actually, like, the more formal reason is that this is an answer to the possibility of the Supreme Court overturning the precedent around gay marriage. Now, it sounds like, I mean, bettors are very skeptical that the Supreme Court will do this. Anecdotally, I think that probably members of Congress and the public are too. My own view is that actually the markets here maybe are underpriced. I mean, if you look at the rationale and so forth that went into the abortion decision, I don't see why there could not be 5-4 or 6-3 Supreme Court majority that basically says, look, I mean, this precedent on gay marriage is nowhere near as entrenched as the abortion one was. But I mean, there's a perfectly clear rationale if you're an originalist or whatever to basically send the issue back to the states. So, I mean, but at the same time, what that tells me is if the only real time sensitivity here in a policy sense on gay marriage is the court taking action here, this is not something that's going to happen anytime before the midterm. So, I mean, what
but here's your problem. Here's your problem. Your problem. And by the way, we'll get there in a second. Your problem is that realistically, like, it's what is the situation where the Democrats share power with the Republicans where they're going to get another chance at this? Like, what is the situation where President DeSantis with Chuck Schumer and Speaker of the House Hakeem Jeffries says, okay, let's do gay marriage today? What is the situation where Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy, greases the skids on this for Biden and Schumer? Like, it's not going to happen. So this is really, like, I think they know this is their chance, and there's no guarantee there's going to be another one anytime soon.
No, I agree. But the question is, what do Republicans have to gain by rushing this through?
Okay. So great question. And believe it or not, right now, I don't really know that it's the smartest bet, but right now I'm on no on this, on gay marriage passing. To me, there's a very clear fork in the road. If Collins and what's-her-face, Tammy Baldwin, can get an amendment that makes it very clear that you can't have a master class or master cake, whatever that thing was, where the random gay couples sued the random cake shop that wouldn't bake their wedding cake, even though there were literally a million other bakeries in the country that probably would. If Congress can make it clear that, like, that situation will never arise if a church refuses to marry a gay couple or something like that, then 60 votes are easy. Because in the course of this issue, and I'm defining this issue as post-Dobbs, post-Roe being overturned, something like 57 Republican senators at some point have indicated that they would vote for this. That number is not 57 right now. I think it's publicly a little bit lower, but these things can change. So really, the number of names that you need, if 65 Republicans, shout out Zebby Badger for calling 65 on the Uvalde gun safety, gun control bill, are going to vote for that, there's certainly a universe where you can pick up 60. I mean, you just need 3 of, like, Richard Burr, Joni Ernst, Lindsey Graham, Ben Sass, Marco Rubio, Tim Scott, Todd Young, Shelley Moore Capito. Like, these, it's not a reach to get 3 of these people, but, like, there needs to be an irrefutable firewall around the idea of churches being subjected to litigation because they don't marry gay couples on their premises. So
how much time does Schumer have to figure this out?
Not much. I want to say I saw Politico reporting that it's really just kind of a matter of weeks. If he wants to, and it's important to him that he calls this vote before the election, because even if he loses the vote, like now he's got at least two issues that Republicans are way out of step with the majority of Americans on. So it accrues to his advantage no matter what. But it's very clear to me that he is looking for a solution to get this through Congress into the president's desk, that is far and away his number one priority.
Look, I generally speaking have no edge in these legislative markets, but my gut here is that the 38% no may actually be the better side of this bet here.
And to be honest with you, I'm not really sure that the Democrats can stay out of their own way on this. Like this is such some random liberal dude like Sheldon Whitehouse or well, what's her face? The senator from Illinois who's the wounded veteran in a wheelchair.
Oh, Duckworth.
Yeah, like Tammy Duckworth, like all these people who haven't set foot in like a church in years, like this is their church, like equality or equity or whatever the social justice words are, is their church. And I think that it might be hard for some of them to swallow an amendment that exempts institutions from litigation or whatever by denying same-sex couples marriage on their grounds. I think that might be hard for some of them to swallow. I don't know that that's true, but it certainly supports your point.
No, I agree. And look, I mean, the list of Republicans that you went through, I mean, that's quite a bet to be making that those people are going to come around to this bill. I mean, I don't know exactly where they stand on the issue, but the point is that they hear every day from their constituencies. They're on Twitter. And at the end of the day, like, so much of our politics today is just about opposing the other side, not letting them get the right news cycle. And so if they have ways legislatively of coming up with excuses not to do this or dragging out the process or whatever, betting on Congress not getting things done in a timely fashion has been a pretty good strategy for the last 2 years. So
yeah,
I don't know.
But there's plenty of examples to the contrary. I mean, we just talked about the gun issue that was such a bipartisan success. Don't forget too that, several times during the Trump presidency, Senate Republicans voted against Trump to rein in his power and censure his power when they viewed that, the balance was not going the right way. So a mistake that I make a lot is by overestimating the Senate's ability to call timeout, figure things out, and make stuff happen. But I never discount that possibility. I think discounting the Senate's ability to go into a closed room and come out with a solution, do that at your own risk.
All right. Well, look, I'm not personally confident enough to bet on this, but I'm just going to say my gut here, for whatever it's worth, is that poly market 62% yes, 38% no. With all the complications you mentioned here, I think that the no, in my view, is marginally the better bet. It sounds like that's what you're on right now, but it sounds like probably we should just keep updating.
Yeah, this is one to watch very closely. Yeah. This is definitely one to watch closely because I guess
and just to close this out, so are you in agreement on the Kalshi market that a government shutdown, is that a bond at 91, 92%, or do you think that could happen?
I don't think the government's going to be shut down. But if you can get a yes under like 5 cents, there's reliably some sort of fake crisis that comes around with these things. So might be a chance to go from, 3 cents to 6 or 5 cents to 10 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty attractive at 91%. I don't think the political climate is one where anyone wants this. So.
No. All right. Well, that little 15-minute segment turned into 20 minutes on gay marriage, I think.
I think it was worth it, though. I mean, it's an important issue, and I think it'll also bear a lot on just the broader issue of congressional control and all that.
Okay. All right. Well, so next we're going to go to Rhode Island. Before we start that segment, do you want to